Hello, everyone, and welcome to the COTI Connect community live stream. Thank you for tuning in. Shahaf, welcome,
Hello,
welcome.
hello.
How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. It's been quite a few days, but I'm all good.
Awesome. Yeah, same. It's been a big week this week. We've had a lot of big announcements. We've covered a lot of big topics that have involved a going all in on enterprise privacy and a really refined, focused mission. And with that came some big changes across the ecosystem that were announced this week. And the goal today is to dig into all of this, to cover the questions, to cover the announcements. But yeah, Shah, if you want to just touch on like ultimately the decisions that were made and yeah, the updates.
Yeah, look, I guess in many ways it's not an easy decision, right? Because like we know, quite a few people will be hurt by this decision. Um, but it's the right decision, and we know it, and I guess other people understand and know it too, right? And I guess this is the part where leadership is difficult because you need to do something that is not popular, at least to some people, but you know that long term it's good and it's the right thing to do. So this is what I did, and obviously I'm 100% behind this. We are making room for the new, and for that we gotta lose some things, and I touched that a few weeks ago, um, and so this is where we stand with this, and I've looked at some sentiment reports, and obviously um, I am following the channels, and I kind of like read what people say, and I would say that it's um, we have like a third that is supportive of this decision, and that are glad that the focus is on privacy and real utility. And they, quote unquote, happy to see their reward sell pressure end. Okay. Um, there's a third that is hurt by this decision. And again, it's a lot of people that have been in the community forever, and this makes it painful for the team and for me personally. So it's specifically, G-COTI holders or treasury stakers or would-be node runner. But these are smart people, so I guess their anger is mostly about how it landed, overnight with no warning, and not just not the decision itself. So I'll try to touch this specifically, but the short of it is that the only way to do this is kind of like immediately and abrupt, and not drag this for long. And there's a third who's just have questions, all sorts of questions about migration and KuCoin access and whatnot. And of course, we'll touch that as well in this stream. So yeah, let's get right to it.
All right. Yeah, let's dig in. I think that was helpful. And I think it's important to lay out the evolution of the landscape and touch on where things are at today. Um, I, it shouldn't be a surprise to anybody looking at the market, looking at charts, the fact that we have such a active and engaged community is honestly really a gift, because so many others don't share in this, that have been around in Web3 for a while. Because like it's not a secret, right, guys? Like Web3 has been struggling for a very long time. You can see that retail activity and interest is at 2-year lows. There's been bear market in altcoins for years. The viewership on YouTube is really low. The engagement across social is really low. This is very this is, I think ultimately it will turn around. This isn't a forever thing, but I think you have to look at that. And I think at the same time, something that we've been very embedded in throughout this year, have gotten to speak to the partners and be front and center, is the fact that the enterprise and institutional demand for building on chain has never been like it is right now. Like all of the biggest banks and financial services of the firms of the world just woke up this year due to regulatory clarity and the technology readiness, and they said, okay, it's time. Like we're going to tokenize the stock market. It's going to trade 24/7. We're going to lead into stable coins, and trillions of dollars have been transferred in stable coins already. You've got RWA movement happening. Like so much is going on the institutional and enterprise front. And you guys who are part of this community know very well. We actually heard from a partner this week that the bigger the institution is, the greater the need for privacy. And I think that that's really fascinating because the bigger the bank is, the bigger the financial institution, the greater the need for privacy. So there's a massive demand for privacy, and so like you have to like evaluate these two things. One of them is growing astronomically, and one is shifting, changing, struggling. The project itself, the technology has been designed to support and serve the thing that is building, growing, thriving. Shahaf, can you just touch on how this change in the landscape really like factored into these decisions and the focus to capture this sort of changing of the tide?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, COTI is literally in the best position of any protocol in the world to serve the demand for institutional and general purpose privacy. The best position, and there's a lot of conversation about COTI. I'm not talking just about the people who kept retweeting the CoinGecko. I did the CoinGecko thing of there was more chatter about COTI one of the days. More chatter about COTI than on Bitcoin, which says a lot both on COTI but also on the market at this point. No, I'm not just talking about this. I'm talking about some deep currents in the market, and which kind of like led to probably what we see, and people get this, and so the demand for COTI is going to grow dramatically because of what we do, and as you've mentioned, and obviously very aware of these conversations, and part of what we do right now is kind of like work closely with the major L1s of the world, and with them we kind of like able to capture the demand from the best institutions of our world, right? So on one hand, this opportunity is there, right, and it's huge, and we are very well positioned to capture it. But doing so will take all of our focus and resources, and ultimately there are only so many resources available, especially in this market, and we have to focus on the opportunity and kind of like use our resources the best way for growth and expansion of the protocol, and over time this will of course improve tokenomics and everything that people actually want, right? But focus is not just about, hey, this is an amazing opportunity and I'm going to focus on that. This part everybody understands. You're not an amazing manager if you kind of like understand what's the best opportunity and focus on that. Yes, that's great, but that's B. I think, right, A is I know that this is the best opportunity, but I also know that now it means that I will have to not do B and C. Even though people will be hurt by this short term. But I have to do this, right? So, ultimately paying rewards out of token distribution into a thin market dilutes everyone. People get that. So it also has a short-term negative effect. And we want to redirect all of our focus, energy, engineering into what will be fee generating, supply burning usage, and that will strengthen the network for everyone long term. So the decision was made to let's do privacy for institutions immediately because the opportunity is great, is there, it's great, and with privacy on demand we can do that. But also let's not do other things. And it's simple. Any program that distributes rewards is being paused, not just because of the rewards, but also because of the engineering focus that it takes. And we'll just do any initiative that adds value, grows adoption and utility, and that will get our full attention. And everything changes, right? The technology and the industry is constantly changing, and it evolves. And a lot of the things that we do now, we do because this was the right thing to do, throughout the years of Web3, right? But this has changed as well. And I think we've made it this far, and for almost a decade now in crypto, and we've made it this far. I know, but we did it because we evolved, and because we plan on continuing to do so. So I think COTI is in a much better position than many projects out there, as there's a real demand for privacy, and we are going to focus completely about it, and we're going to chase this opportunity and not chase other things.
Yeah, I think that was well said. And I was thinking about this too, like, you think about Facebook and Meta investing like whatever gargantuan amount of money. I mean, it was tens of billions, it's not $100 billion on like the metaverse, right? Yeah. Which, and you think about the amount of billions of dollars that Apple put on their VR goggles. These are just very more recent, proximity bias examples. But you can look at, maybe a closer example would be like back in the day, we had this social media platform called Vine that people invested. They built brands. They had all these followers. Yes. It was like this big first thing. They put so much into that, and then boom, it was gone. I mean, there was back in the day where we all had tumblers, and then it was gone. And what's the difference is, Meta made the change. They're still here because they had to make that hard decision. That decision affected a lot of people. It actually affected a whole bunch of startups that were building towards their metaverse. It was an entire ecosystem, right?
And what about people that make correlation, people that hold Meta shares, right, in the market? Like probably more people hold Meta shares than hold COTI. They can say, why did the company wasted so much money on something that it is now abandoning, right? And yes, yeah, that's a fair question. But would you rather it continue to do so?
Right.
Yes, we're not. There's some, and of course you can't even blame Mark Zuckerberg or the Meta management for, trying the metaverse. It seemed very appealing back then. They're not stupid, right? Yeah. But it failed, right? Yeah. So I think I don't think the treasury. I don't think it failed. But if we will continue to do that, then we will fail in other places, and those places will matter more. Yeah. So this is why we're doing what we're doing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think crypto makes it so much harder in a way because people have a different kind of very close proximity to like skin in the game, right? Like, it's very much like, I don't know. People in crypto have a different level of relationship to the things that they hold than people who hold stocks, right? Like stocks feel much more far removed. You feel kind of out of touch with it. You sort of read the report, but in crypto you feel entrenched, which makes it even harder. But at the same time, right? Like you would think that, Meta, Mark Zuckerberg has got more money than God. Why would he kill the metaverse? Well, it's because he can't split the attention. That's like, it's not just the value cost, it's the attention cost, it's the engineering cost, it's the talent cost. You can't split the attention. And that's why these initiatives have to change a lot. It's a reason why, Meta's all in on AI and their stock is still worth $1 trillion+ or whatever it is. And Snapchat is struggling because of the choices that they make. So like, these are things that have to be done. And technology is moving so fast these days. And I think the other piece to this is just about timing is everything. And clearly, the timing to capitalize on enterprise and institutional privacy is like right now.
Right now.
It's right now. It's not. It literally, you couldn't make headway 6 months ago the way that you can now. But this is the moment to strike, and that means that it doesn't make sense. So let's go through some of these announcements and some of these things. I think obviously the one that's most impactful, most recent is Treasury, right? The announcement is that the Treasury is essentially going on pause on August 18th, next week. And it's pretty straightforward. Like, users can withdraw now, get their tokens, get their rewards. But let's be candid. There's some delays in rewards. There's stuck transactions. Users have been having issues. And so we wanted to make sure that no one had to worry, which is essentially you don't have to do anything. The rewards, the tokens, they're going to be sent all back to your wallet. Everything is going back to your wallet. You don't actually have to feel hurried or rushed. There's not a rug pull here. You're going to get all of your tokens and assets back. If you are still holding V1, we put announcements out for over a year now on the migration of V1. But if you do by chance still hold V1 in the Treasury, you are one of the people that do need to take an action. And there's instructions in our blog. Make sure you do that. I just want to emphasize that. But yeah, I think that's all clear. Maybe, Shahaf, you could share a little bit more on why this choice regarding the Treasury.
Sure. So a few things. Well, first of all, it's clear that the Treasury needs to be rebuilt entirely. It's not a patch. It's not a fix. Like we've done so many of these throughout the years. It's not enough, and I've said it myself more than once. And we've actually laid out the plan for it. And we wrote a white paper about this, about how it will be part of the node ecosystem. Like, the plan is there. We know exactly how we want to build this. We know it will be much better. However, if we do that, it means that any resource that we put towards rebuilding the Treasury, right? And we want to, put our best engineers there, right? We don't want another a clunky Treasury, right? So, but if any asset that we put there, any bright engineer, this resource is now not being put on building our privacy with our partners. Okay, so it's this or that. We can't do both. Okay, forget about let's just hire 100 engineers. It's not an option. Makes no sense. And if I could hire 100 bright people, I would put them immediately on privacy for institutions with our partners. Right. So leaving the Treasury as is not an option. And additionally, it adds to token reward dilution into this thin market that's people that are not part of the Treasury have mentioned more than once. So I think this decision is clear, right? And while it may feel sudden, actually, there is no easy way to do it, right? And since all tokens and rewards are being returned to everyone without incurring any fee, any early revolving, none of that, it's actually best to just wrap it up. Let's say that I would announce that we will pause Treasury in October. What would be different? Nothing will be different other than us needing to put more engineers on it and trying to fix everything there and holding it together for a few more months. But the outcome would be quite the same. So it is overnight, even though internally we've discussed this quite a lot, because there's no other way to do it. And I think anything else would be counterproductive. So this was the decision about Treasury. I am saying it's paused and not terminated because it's paused and not terminated. If we'll have some more bandwidth, then we'll just circle back to the plan we have in place and rebuild Treasury V2, which will be a lot better. But right now, I don't know when, but the decision is made, because long term it's better to focus on privacy. Doesn't mean that it is terminated. It is paused.
That makes sense. I think that makes a lot of sense, especially if we're just going to be sending it back to everybody's wallet. Like, just let's just take care of it, right?
Yep.
Let's discuss the one that I think has had the biggest impact this week, which is COTI, right? So, like, obviously, this was used as an AP-wide boost for the Treasury. With the Treasury being put on pause, there's a lot of questions surrounding its future. Let's just touch on that, and what can we clarify there?
Yeah. Well, first of all, that I know that this is a big one for the community and for the loyal community, and it's a painful one. And the reality is that there's no easy way to solve it, including everything that people mentioned. Of course, we thought about this, fixed swaps, etc. It opens up a cascade of other issues and opportunities for bad actors. When it comes to fixed swaps, just think about the arbitrage opportunities that it may create, and all of that. And it also means, again, putting some more engineering into this to kind of build something that can allow for fixed swaps. So no, this is difficult. We are considering the future of COTI. It feels like the community has already decided, from the looks of it, and we're taking that into consideration. But I don't know, right now what will be the future of COTI and how we can include it in the future of our ecosystem. We're not terminating it. And, the team will ensure that there's plenty of liquidity on Bancor for swaps. If that's the choice that people make, we will take care of it, and we'll make sure that it's there. But I think people kind of made a decision about what will happen with COTI a bit too fast. But again, I'm not making promises. COTI was, tightly coupled with the Treasury, but because we haven't said the last word about Treasury, obviously we can't say anything about COTI, and we had other ideas for COTI as well. So it is confusing. I don't have an immediate solution, to be honest. So in the meantime, the best that we can do is kind of make sure that the liquidity is there for those who don't want to be part of the COTI future. And we just have to wait and see.
Yeah, I think that's clear, and we've all been very close to the community in this process and very aware of everyone's concerns. So yeah, we'll see from here. Let's talk about another one that obviously Nodes V2. For some of our core community, they had tested this a little bit in the new version. They'd gotten their hands on it. There was some excitement about this. This was obviously a point of discussion in our previous live streams. But while this one was quite highly anticipated, I think there's a pretty good reason and pretty obvious one why it was put on pause. But let's break this one down too.
Yeah. Nodes is, to be honest, Nodes V2 is ready to go, right? As you know, we were kind of a week away from launching it. When I realized I can kind of looking, realistically into the market and where we stand, and I said that this needs to go on pause, right? It's an amazing thing. It is built beautifully. There are, probably about 20 people from the coding community that have actually tested Nodes and play with it, and they can kind of vouch for it being real. But again, two things. First is developer resources, and the other one is token dilution. Nodes is by definition an engineering-heavy project, and even though most of the development was all of the development was done, there's still significant maintenance, right? If something fails, that I want my best people fixing it immediately. And if you launch it now, you would it would mean that I need to put my best people on alert to fix things if they fail, and technologies fail all the time. That's what they do. So that's one thing. And the other one is again, it means a heavy monthly distribution of tokens into thin liquidity in the market. So it's the wrong moment for nodes V2. And when conditions are right, then by all means, it's not right this moment. Again, focus and dilution. And people have been talking about dilution for quite a while, right? We've been listening, and we know that, right? So we need to put this on pause as well for all the good reasons. We needed to put treasury and other things on pause.
Yeah,
and earn.
Right. Yeah, I think earn is another one, right? So I think people have the misunderstanding that earn is just pause right now, or it's going to be paused at the same time as treasury. Look, there's a countdown there. It shows you exactly when the season ends. When the season ends, it's going on pause. That's it for a while. You'll be able to claim your rewards. That's a wrap. But again, there's a couple reasons, and I can touch on this one, which is one, Web3 traffic and the nature of like kind of incentivized quest-oriented campaigns are just not what is currently the right move for projects. It's not, as someone at the very involved in Web3 marketing and growth, this is not ideal. One, it's just not what it used to be, right? There was a whole culture and ecosystem that was very vibrant around this, but it's changed. And I think the other thing that's very obvious to everyone is it's just dilutive to tokens and distributes quite a bit of rewards passively for users who are already in, when the ability to attract new users from these campaigns across the entire ecosystem has gone down a lot. So I think this one makes a lot of sense to also go on pause at the end of the season. You guys still have a little bit of time. I think it's like a little over 2 months to make the most of it. But any additional thoughts on earn?
Yeah, no, I agree. COTI earn served its purpose for sure, and it generated great activity and growth. But it's part of a different stage of the cycle, and that part of the cycle is over. And now we need to focus on higher impact work all the time again, while addressing the dilution concerns.
Yeah, and I think this kind of brings us to the token, right? I think everyone tuning in should see the trend here. It's like there's a very clear delineation. If it's dilution and distribution, it's going on pause. If it's focus and orientation towards growth of the actual ecosystem, the protocol, and the token, it's getting the full attention. So talk a little bit about like how you kind of foresee this influencing the token over the long tail, and maybe treating this refined focus as an opportunity to improve tokenomics.
Sure. So yeah, again, thinking about supply and demand, right? COTI has distributed millions in COTI rewards to holders throughout the years, right? But also through earn, COTI treasury, community campaigns, and so on and so forth. And we had more plans, as you know. So I think we've been constantly investing in big parts of the COTI community, those who were involved with this campaign. I think right now, the best that we can do for the COTI community, like the highest return investment we can make for every holder, is actually the privacy ecosystem and the token itself behind it. It means that we now need to drive real adoption, growth, and utility. And as I've said, by working with the biggest chains of our world and adding more chains, it means that we will add more usage that will immediately reflect on the COTI chain, right? So it means greater demand, more burns, and real utility will replace subsidized rewards. That's that's it. That I think that's the bottom line, and this is why we've taken the decisions that we did. And I think if people can see through the immediate pain and, hey, I had APY, hey, GCOTI, all of that, long term, it's better. And I think people got a glimpse. Look, there's a lot of things that are happening behind the scenes. And, sometimes you see a glimpse of it, like you've seen recently. And this is what it means that, if we're doing the right things, then we become attractive to the right people. And I think this is what people should put in their minds and kind of like focus on that. That will serve them, much more than the next incentive, without ignoring the fact that it hurts short term.
Yeah, I think that's really clear. Then I think this brings us. So we've been gathering up everybody's questions. We're also monitoring questions live over the past several days since we made this announcement. I think what you just shared rolls really good into our next question, which is this big question around the 58% community allocation in token emissions. Where did those go now? What's happening with those allocation? This is something that is a bit top of a lot of the core community's mind who tracks this stuff really close. Can you just respond to that piece so we can answer this question?
Yeah. I'd like to be cynical to begin with, and I think I can be cynical because people are so cynical towards me on X. Like I can do that every now and then. It's my stream, damn it. Look, people will be like, hey, why do you spend all these tokens on these incentives and all that? You dilute it and then you pause and people are like, hey, why do you hold all of these tokens right now, right? Guys, look, tokens are minted according to the algorithm embedded in the protocol. This will not change, right? This is the same mechanism reflected in CMC and then circulating supply figures. So this process does not change. Right?
Programmatic.
It's programmatic, right? However, how we utilize it does change. And I am not inclined to spend all this COTI just because it's there. And it's still there. Right? And over the past year, right, there were far fewer rewards that were distributed from the vested and community allocation than the theoretical schedule. And the distribution was limited primarily to earn and treasury participants, right? Tokens that are minted, they're not distributed automatically as rewards because they are there. It's obviously not the right thing to do. And when the time is right, and the market is right, and the opportunity is there, then we will make the best use of it. And I think we can all agree that if there's no good reason to spend COTI, then by all means, let's not spend it. Let's keep it there, right? And everybody can see it there and wait. So this is what we have been doing. This is what we're doing right now. And this is what we'll continue to do. And, this means this is kind of like what it means to run this thing. And I hope that clears it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's clear. Like these tokens come in via programmatic, they're algorithmic. And if there's not a distribution channel for them, they sit. You guys can track all that. Yeah. So we've addressed this one, but this is just like why only 7 days when it comes to the Treasury announcement. Guys, we covered this, it's very clear. It's because you are going to get all of your tokens and rewards back sent to your wallet that you've connected automatically. So it makes the most sense to not prolong it, not create more confusion, not create more, community frustration with issues of stuck transactions. We're going to take care of it on our end.
And as you know, internally I said 48 hours. Like what's the point? It's going back to everyone. There's no and the greater credit management told me, let's give people time to kind of like do this themselves. And I said, but why? It's the same thing. Like, why do they need to do this? And we've settled on a week. But to be honest, I don't even don't get it. It's the faster we can kind of like, okay, guys, things have changed. Let's put this behind us now. Then we're creating some alternatives to this specific thing with the KuCoin staking, which I know is limited and not everybody can do it. I know, but let's do that and kind of like immediately move on to the next thing that will improve everybody's lives, all COTI holders' lives, faster. Let's just do it. There's no point in kind of like dwelling in this right now. And I think the longer it is, the longer the frustration, which will change over time. But this is why not more than a week.
Yeah, great question. So another question we got, which was, why sudden? I think we touched on this too, but really, like, if with the sudden change, can you share anything in terms of confidence in COTI's financial future? It was very clear in the article that this, makes the organization well positioned for a long period to come. But naturally, with sudden changes, people get a little concerned. They feathers get ruffled, and as a result, we don't want unnecessary FUD to come out of this. It's not necessary. So can you just address this directly?
Yeah. Well, first off, of course, COTI is okay, and we're doing these changes because we care, and not because we don't care and have abandoned the project. So we're clear. And it's not sudden changes. We've been reflecting on this for quite a while now, and obviously, it's not built in a way, where everything becomes a big debate, etc. And because you can't really, and it always failed to run a fast-moving tech company, a fast-moving startup, if you may, with long debates. And again, I know people always have their idea. Everybody can run this better, of course. But to be honest, we've been talking about this for quite a while. We've been, taking advice from a lot of people, and it was time to take the rough decision. And then people hear about it, and but it's not really sudden. It's not. What I want to say, it is sudden in many ways, but it's not an impulse. It's not.
Right.
Like I woke up one morning and I said, let's pause this treasury. Of course not. So, and yeah, you've talked about this enough, I guess.
Yeah, and I can attest that this wasn't some big scramble behind the scenes. This was a methodical, thought out process to refine things, right? Yeah. So you mentioned KuCoin staking, and I think that this is something that's worth touching on too, which is I actually think that this was a neat option, basically, right? Like, okay, the treasury is stopping, but if users do want to keep staking, at least have some kind of route for them to do so. Obviously, the rate is less. That's actually a good thing towards the initiatives that we're trying to do, and this is kind of on a rolling basis, and it gives us an opportunity to partner with KuCoin, get the token to even more exposure and marketing initiatives, which is great. But can you just touch on this and why this was something that was implemented?
Yeah, look, KuCoin is kind of like the natural option. They support V2, obviously, and we wanted to give some people an outlet. I think if it felt wrong to just do ERC20 staking on some other exchange, to be honest. But we hear the demand for on-chain staking and for other jurisdictions that KuCoin currently doesn't support. And by the way, I think from what I get from KuCoin, the EU lack of support is temporary and it will be fixed. I don't know. I can't really speak for KuCoin. But we wanted to give the people an outlet while opening up some more marketing opportunities with them. So So KuCoin was the choice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it makes sense. But yeah, well aware, the team is all well aware that not everyone can access it, right? So,
Yeah.
but for those that can, it's a nice opportunity, as well as a nice opportunity for other people to join in. And like Shahaf said, taking everyone's interest into mind and future considerations. One thing that we've gotten, it was like in the announcement, there's quite a few mentions of pause, right? Treasury's going on pause, Nose is going on pause. This was a polite question in a polite way, but is pause just a polite word for shutdown? What does that mean? Pause, and could you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, well, no means no, and pause means pause, right? Pause means resources are pointed right now at the highest impact work. When we have bandwidth, we can revisit this, and the first two things that we will revisit will be both Treasury and Nodes V2. So that's for future consideration, but I'm not going to guesstimate when that is. Let's say we're doing privacy on demand, we're doing this with this L1, it goes very well, and then we have three other L1s that want to work with us, then it means that this now becomes the highest impact work
Right.
that we can do, right? So I think it will probably mean that we're doing very well if we continue to focus on privacy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're beginning this question quite a bit, which is just about the bridge. I just want to touch on this real quickly. I want to just explain. So, most of you have seen the crazy price volatility on the token in the past couple of weeks. It's no surprise. It got everybody's attention. The actual social traffic, fun fact, the social traffic on all things COTI since has been the craziest, I think, since we started really tracking the data, since I've been here by far. The actual website was up 500% in visitors. The social threads were just skyrocketing. There was certain thousands of accounts posting. I mean, this was pretty remarkable. All of this because the world of crypto is not flush with liquidity right now, creates arbitrage issues across centralized exchanges, DEX exchanges, when things move this crazy. And that arbitrage led to the bridge just getting absolutely hammered. Absolutely hammered. So it's no secret. This is what's going on. The team's been working to scale the bridge and are going to continue to work to process transactions. This will calm down. Everyone will get their bridge transactions refunded or settled. The team will get it all sorted. So we thank everyone's patience for this. It was a pretty significant movement that created quite the situation. The team's working to resolve it and get everyone in good standing. So I just wanted to address that directly so everyone knows. Please be patient. It will. I think it's just the bridge is like a day or two behind now. It's good. They'll catch it up. So just hang tight. It'll get solved. Okay. Great.
It's also, by the way, it obviously found its way kind of like to my top priority to kind of again strategize about liquidity, ERC20, V2, grid scalability, etc. We haven't seen these problems for quite a few years now. This used to be a problem, by the way, a few years ago. Some will remember. And I thought we had resolved it, and we did, but for for a certain scale, we did, not for the scale that we recently faced. So it's now time to think about what's next for it and how we can fix it. And it's an internal discussion that is going on right now.
Makes sense. It was a pretty insane scale. I mean, this was really wild. Yeah. So there's another question that's just centered around supply, and some of these systems out there that document supply. Could you just touch on the concerns on what Ethereum shows and what the supply should be, just to address that?
Yes, I could, and this goes kind of like before your tenure, right?
Yeah.
So I think about 8 years ago we've launched the bridge.
Yeah, way before.
Way before most people got even interested in crypto, closer to the Bitcoin white paper than than what we are right now. And when we built the bridge, it was there to bridge between V1, which was DAG based, to Ethereum, right? And the thing with how V1 and DAGs were there is that you could not burn tokens, right? And overall technologies were different back then. So the way the bridge was built, like two major decisions: one, you cannot burn tokens, and the other one is that each new transaction creates a new address, because we didn't want to create like a honeypot with a lot of tokens that will become attractive to hackers. And I think that was a wise decision back then, because bridge wasn't hacked. The fact that you can't burn tokens, so let me just run you through one token, right? So let's say you had a V1 token, right? You sent it to the bridge. This V1 was locked, and now an COTI ERC20 was created. So right now there are two COTI tokens in existence, but only one is circulating, right? The economical reality is that there is one COTI out there. Okay. Now you sent back your COTI ERC20 to the bridge, so and got your V1 released. So there are still two COTI tokens, but only one is circulating, right?
Right.
So obviously this kind of like inflates the amount of minted tokens, but it doesn't change the circulating supply. Mm-hmm. Now, this is enough to kind of like explain why what minted supply actually tracks is the amount of bridge transactions throughout time and not economically circulating supply. But it gets even more complicated, because let's say now you've sent V1 to the bridge again, we will mint an ERC20 again. The first one is locked out there. It's not circulating. It's a ghost. But right now, if you check, you will see 3 COTI tokens, but the reality is only one is circulating. Okay? So there's no point in looking on the amount of minted ERC20 tokens when so many of them are locked on bridge addresses. Mm-hmm. And this has always been a confusion. I understand why it is confusion, but the reality is that circulating supply is what you see on CMC and mm-hmm. CoinGecko, with maybe some lag to how fast they track. So I hope that clears it. And what I'm telling you right now is not news. It has been disclosed and described so many times. But I think because of how the bridge was built, we owe this explanation each and every time. So I hope people get it.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. It was good education for me, a little historic evidence as well.
Yes.
Okay. This is a big question that we've been getting. And I'll take this one, which is, when will you announce the top L1 partner that was mentioned in Shahaf's video when he made it? It's obviously been alluded to. It's been leaked in the community. You guys know the deal. But look, the reality is, what's really important for us is that everything is aligned and it's done properly. There's a big opportunity here for a lot of exposure that requires a tremendous amount of planning. It also requires a tremendous amount of coordination, and also just certain things that have to be checked off the list on the critical path that take time. So it's not a bad thing that certain things get out there. You can dig around and discover things in dev docs, etc. But what we don't want to do is, there's a much broader opportunity with much more exposure. And so, look, you can figure things out if you take a close look. But for official things, let us take the official time it takes to do those things properly and make the most of it, which is the goal. Make the most of it. And so we're getting there. We're moving right down the track. Things are looking really good, and we'll keep you updated for sure, and excited for that. All right, cool. I think the last question is just we've really touched on it already, to be honest, but maybe just revisiting it again. How does this affect tokenomics looking ahead? Maybe just one more quick summary, because I do think that ultimately the best thing that can happen for the net majority of the community is a positive focus being put on the token itself, and in terms of utility growth. So yeah, let's just touch on that one more time.
Sure. So again, with Treasury Earn Nodes V2 pause, new rewards emission from those programs, I either stopped or reduced dramatically. So this reduces the flow of newly minted tokens into the market. And now our focus is on growing real utility and demand through enterprise and institutional privacy adoption, the privacy on demand expansion, L1 partnerships that you've mentioned, and fee-driven activities that will actually move the needle. And I think, let's not play games. This is the right thing to do, and this is what we are, committed to doing. To be honest, I read some of the questions that people say, why this sudden shift? It's not even a shift. It's not even a focus shift. The focus was on privacy all the time, but it's now, the realization is that focus also means eliminating other things. So, we are taking on two big things. One is dilution, and the other one is resources and where we put our attention in. And I'm absolutely certain that this is the best thing for COTI holders long term, or even medium term, and probably even short term. Right. To be honest,
right?
As we've seen.
I mean, I think the other piece of this is privacy has obviously been a running conversation here for a while, but the opportunity to actually build it with the big players just presented itself in the last 3 to 6 months. This is on the edge of where all of this big institutional effort is to tokenize trillions. So this is exactly where it is. But yeah, Shahaf, I think we're getting to the rounding out the hour here. Any final thoughts for the community so we can close?
I'm looking into questions that are in the chat.
Sure.
One thing is how to cook soup, as to the point where you're not just cynical and is that if this is a hard pivot from V2. I think this is 100% focus on V2. This is not V3. This is exactly the focus on V2. How does anything else is more V2 than focusing on privacy? So it feels like you're pretty hurt, but I sense that you understand that what we do is the focus on V2 and not the other way around. Someone asked if we were going to COTI V3. No, absolutely not. Exactly wrong. We're going to this. Someone asked us to pump to 30 cents right now. So I leave this to others. When will the bridge start to process the transactions at the same day? This is what it did for many years now. And I think we touched that right now. Please explain 58% community tokens. I think we did, right? If not, then there's probably a transcript. People want the big news, so I think they've alluded to that. Move on. Answer some questions instead of keep talking like you always do. Here I am. Why are we not starting with the main concerns of the community first? I don't know. This is the order we did it, and here we are.
Yeah. This is the key. You got to be able to put out information, let it be digest, and then be able to answer questions and address it. There's no right way, easy way to communicate this stuff.
Yeah. Plus, look, if you don't need to sit here for the entire hour, you can just read the transcript later and kind of like read it from the end if you prefer it. Yeah. I don't know. Look, there are some people again are asking, like, are we abandoning the community? So I would like to read. I know we've answered that, but I'd like to reiterate. And kind of like some people wrote it, right? So I feel kind of like okay with stating the same thing. The fact that some parts of the community have rightfully enjoyed initiatives that gave them COTI for free is okay. But the greater good right now is pausing that and focusing on what drives utility, and utility will drive the demand for COTI, and we saw a glimpse of what that means recently. So this is what's right for the community. Okay? So this is what we do.
Got a question in terms of why do you choose to drop the news via Telegram on X rather than this first? It's because it's very difficult to verbally communicate all of the details in these things. You really need to lay it out and make sure that it's very clear to the end user, that they can grab it, that they can share it. To drop that kind of news conversationally, we might miss a nuance, we might miss something. It's really important to be able to lay out all of that information and then allow the process for digestion to happen, and then address all the different questions, maybe things that we anticipated or didn't anticipate. So ultimately, like we said, there's just no easy way to do this. It's going to be a shock regardless. It's really important that the details are as clear as possible for everyone to be informed. That's what's most important.
Okay, a lot of things here, but again, I'm trying to not repeat myself.
Sure.
Yeah, bridge again. Bridge normally works the same day, same hour, usually, and it will be that again soon. Yeah, I think it's other than some renting, which I get.
Sure.
I think. Yeah, and again, I'm happy to see that a lot of people do get it with what they say and write. And I guess it's not like, again, leadership means taking some not popular decisions, and I think because people are so vocal about this right now, people that do understand why we do what we do feel kind of like I'm not gonna. It's not the right time to kind of like say I get it and I know why people do that, right? But here in the private messages, they actually get it. Yeah. Okay, I think we've covered. Did we miss something?
I mean, I think from everything that I've gathered, I think we've covered just about everything. I think ultimately, some of it, if you feel like it was unclear, go ahead and just watch it again. Take a look. Re-listen. And if you have follow-up questions, then let us know. Send us messages. Drop it in the channels. comment under the stream, and we'll look at those and work on providing answers to those as well. But ultimately, it's a great opportunity. The ability for privacy to actually be built and used is in a very unique situation, and I'm glad that this is the focus. So
Yeah. And look, for closing, I'd say that there's a lot of interest around COTI right now. Um, um, from kind of like deep within the market. And for us, it just means that it's time to get going, and
yeah,
we'll just be laser focused on what's right and what will move the needle for everyone. There is no, we're in it together. Like there's no, like my future depends a lot on COTI's success, much more than it is for, I dare say, any community member. Okay. So I have all the right intentions to making sure that COTI succeeds, and we have a great team, and we'll make it work, and you'll see.
awesome. Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in today. I think there was all sorts of great insight here, a lot of clarity, and appreciate Shahaf you taking the time to dig into all of this and break it all down with the community. Um, Look, guys, this isn't the end. We're going to do plenty more live streams. We'll cover more questions. There's lots to happen and go from here, and I'm really looking forward to some of these big announcements that we got coming up. So stay tuned, guys. Stay COTI, and we'll catch you on the next one.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye bye.